My name's Cody Smith.
I'm Tierra.
Hi there, I'm Tim Ocampo.
And the three of us are the hosts of the Last Podbender. Welcome to another episode of The Last Podbender, everybody. This is episode 10, and we are taking a look at episode 10 of season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and this episode is entitled Jet. So just a little synopsis here is the gang is kind of in a forest. They decide to walk instead of flying on APLA. They come onto a Fire Nation military camp. They get into a pickle, and then these unknown kind of like Robin Hood type people descend from the trees and save them. Take them back to their camp, which is like a tree house.
But they're all kids.
They're all kids, yeah. They all are kids, keeping up with the kids theme of this TV show.
Yeah.
But they take them back to their treehouse hideout. Their leader, Jet, which is the title of this episode, he's a real douche.
Real douche guy.
He seems like he's being their friends at first, but he does it in a really sneaky, slimy way. It turns out that his plan is to basically destroy the Earth Kingdom town that the Fire Nation has conquered, killing all of its citizens by blowing up a dam. Sokka finds this out, and he tries to warn the gang, but they don't really trust him. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of finally get to the point where Katara and Aang realize what's happening, and they go and they fight Jet. They end up blowing up the dam anyway, but Sokka has miraculously saved all the villagers from the town because of a encounter that Sokka had with an old man from the Fire Nation in the woods previously. I think that's pretty much it.
Niceness. Kindness saved the day.
Yeah, kindness and niceness kind of saved the day here, yeah. Which was...
I have many thoughts.
Well, why don't you start with your many thoughts then?
First off, the lighting in this episode.
Oh, gorgeous.
Oof though. So the first time that Katara interacts with Jet, he's standing underneath a tree, completely in shadow, and she's standing in the sunlight, and then she walks into shadow and starts talking to him.
Oh, shit. I didn't even notice that.
Whoa! Yeah, no, I noticed that. I was like, holy shit.
Damn!
Yeah.
That's fucking profound.
At the end of the episode, he's stuck underneath of a tree. Katara leaves the shadow of the tree and hops on Appa.
Oh my god, that pull!
I know. So, and also the lighting when they are going up the rope and it changes to this very anime, sparkly, happy
Instagram filter
lighting. Yes, it's very. That was very funny.
The one thing that I didn't notice about the lighting actually is that when they're at the camp and they're talking around the campfire, it's very kind of bright at first, but as soon as he starts talking about the Fire Nation and how it gets actually darker.
They're dead wrong.
His hair shadowed his eyes. That's what I noticed most is his hair was overshadowing his eyes. It made him almost look like he had a mask on.
Yeah, which is it's crazy. That just blows my mind what you mentioned with the I didn't even notice that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tierra just entered the Avatar state.
Yeah.
Yo, I might be reading into this so much.
No, dude, I think I said it in the very first episode, but it takes so much fucking time and effort to make cartoons like this that nothing is by accident. We see it again when the dam finally floods the frickin' town.
And there's
a goddamn cabbage cart. There's nothing's by accident.
This is all just propaganda to like relate to young kids. It's like, yes, I hate vegetables. I'm happy these vegetables are dying. It's just trying hard to relate. I think that's the heart of it. I'm joking.
I have so many thoughts. Let me sort them out. Hold on. So 2 things. First of all, when the town is flooded, that doll in the river is a very, very stark image because we do not know that the people have been saved yet. And we think that they're all dead, and this doll is just like this very human reminder that people have been killed, which they haven't, but it's fine. And then secondly, I hate Jet so much. He is manipulative. He totally gaslights Sokka. Oh yeah, you totally just didn't even see the knife. And then like Katara being super naive just goes along with it. And Sokka's just standing there so mad because he's getting gaslit. And he's like, I know I didn't see a knife.
You have to explain a little bit. You just... So what happens is that Sokka goes with Jet to basically ambush this old man. And when they get back to the camp, Sokka tries to tell Aang and Katara about what Jet is like, because Jet was fully ready to like just beat up this old man. And then so Jet deflects it and gaslights Sokka by being like, "Oh no, he totally had a knife with poison in it." So
he makes me so mad. I'm sorry I didn't explain that very good.
Wait, Tierra, are you telling me that Jet made you mad this episode?
That's what you're hearing. Yes, Tim. Okay. That is what I'm saying. Yes.
Very clear. Your
emotions are just like, I get it.
I don't know. I wasn't sure.
I also love it. Like, Jet and Aang's fight in the air is like so epic, but as soon as Jet touches the ground, Katara's like slamming him with the water. Like the last episode, she could barely make a water whip, and now she's fucking slamming him against the tree.
Yeah.
No, that was actually really good.
So satisfying.
Like, it was. I think we all had a collective hatred for Jet. Like, I very much said I forgot how much I disliked this guy when we watched this episode again. But yeah, it was super satisfying to see Katara just like kind of come into her own water bending powers and use them offensively, really, but like really well too.
So I'm trying to imagine this experience as like the first time watcher, as a kid, or just as a first time watcher. I really like the lesson that it presents to the audience that we get to experience through, I guess through all the 3 characters. So Katara, Aang, and Sokka. Something we learn about Sokka is like that the audience can emulate is to trust your gut. It may not always go very smoothly, but if you're I think what's really interesting is I guess in terms of trust and figuring out if someone's safe in general is to the dangers of if listening to someone's words instead of watching their actions.
Yeah.
I think Jet. I think because I'm just trying to think. This is a cartoon whose demographic is small children. So what a amazing lesson that this episode provides of like
not all nice people are nice.
It doesn't matter how cool or suave or trustworthy presenting a person is. It's what their actions, it's what they actually do with their lives and how they treat people that ultimately determines if they're like healthy to be around or not.
Even just the way that Jet talks is such like a slimy and creepy way, you know. He's like, "Oh, don't you see?"
I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have fallen for that.
Yeah, no, totally.
And, honestly, another good like takeaway from this is like, if a person is nice to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're nice, and you need to trust the experiences of people that are close to you.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what Tim is saying. Like, watch their actions, not what they say.
But Katara doesn't see his actions.
Yes, but like, I
mean,
so
she only has his word against Sokka's word, and she needs to trust Sokka. She needs to trust the people that she's close to rather than this person that she doesn't know.
Yeah, that's totally fair, especially if Sokka's telling her, like, what reason does Sokka have to lie? I guess maybe jealousy because, like, at the beginning they are making fun of Sokka for, like, oh, we're trusting your instincts, and they, like, kind of rip into him because they're walking, which is like, come on, guys, like...
Yeah, I love how, now that you've mentioned that, I love the parallel, like, I guess the inverse of Katara's journey through Sokka's journey in this episode, Katara was the one who struggled with jealousy and feeling like she didn't fulfill a role. Katara was the one who didn't have the self-assuredness in her own identity to really be confident and strong. Whereas we see the opposite with Sokka. Sokka, I don't think jealousy was his main motivation. I don't think pettiness was his main motivation in being against Jet. I think he was truly listening to his gut, and he stuck with it because he knew it was he knew he was right at the end of the day. Yeah. So I love that inverse, and I feel like Katara was projecting a little bit in that situation. She was so used to belittling Sokka,
and I think that she really wanted something.
She
wanted Jet to be this person that she had built him up in her mind. Like, she met this person and he's cool and awesome and stuff, and so like she built this person in her mind, and that's who she wanted him to be. So then she refused to believe anything else about him.
Yeah, and like the fact that when Jet literally whisks her way up into the tree fort, you could see you get a glimpse of Katara's perception of him. It's this gold light filter that makes her feel a little blushy.
Yeah.
Which ultimately interfered and kind of broke her heart in a way when she learned the truth.
She was like extremely betrayed. When she was slamming up against that tree, you could just see the betrayal in her face.
Yeah.
And like before that, even when he's like, that's why we had to get rid of Sokka, and she just instantly starts crying, and like you can feel her betrayal, and like I don't think that she's ever had that happen to her. Like, I don't honestly, I think this is the first time we've ever seen Katara trust somebody who hasn't been trustworthy.
Wow.
And has felt that betrayal like that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's just very. It's a very like emotional episode all around for everybody except for Aang. It seems like it's
like tree forts.
Oh, Jet's not cool. Okay.
Yeah, and he does get into like an epic battle and stuff, but he just doesn't seem to be like very like emotional about anything. Whereas like with Sokka and Katara, it's a very like emotional episode. I mean, just imagine being Sokka and like having seen some person do something, and then you go to take it to your closest friends and family, actually, and them just like not believing
just
you and not
Yeah.
trusting in your word and taking the word of this random stranger he met literally a day ago over you because he's a smooth talker. And like the way he does it, like I was saying, is just so manipulative and slimy. It's like
I hate it.
Just like the way that. Like, he talks to Katara, and he's like, no, we are mad at them, right? Like, he projects his emotions onto her, being like, we are mad. They killed our parents, right? The Fire Nation has killed our parents. Don't you see? We need to kill them. Or...
And that's, like, a theme that he keeps coming back to. And I feel like that's what he's reminding his followers of, too. Like, remember this tragedy. Never forget this tragedy. And it's really, like...
This is how he justifies all of the bad things.
No, and justifies, but also, like, this is how he... controls people.
Yes.
Because he's feeding those fears, he's feeding those like negative emotions, and it's easier to control people if you have them believe that you're good and everything else is bad. And so he's feeding those negative emotions that people feel. And
like feeding the dehumanizing narrative that the Fire Nation, the exact dehumanizing narrative that the Fire Nation is using. It's like they're not human. Like if these people die, it would be the equivalent of squashing an ant, essentially, which is the problem with war in general. Like and
also like talking about dehumanizing and like being manipulative. He knew that Katara and Aang would come to him after talking to Sokka because he had that knife hella ready. He did not hesitate at all. He knew the story that he wanted to tell and the way that he wanted to manipulate the situation, and he did it.
I think that this is like this episode is really cool too because we see that there's kind of what Tim was saying. It's like war brings out the worst in everybody. Even who the supposed good guys. I just air quoted for those of you who are listening.
So everyone?
Yeah. But, well, that's a little presumptuous. I mean, I don't think everyone in the world is listening.
Everyone who's listening is just listening and not watching.
No, just bothering you. But yeah, it's like war brings out the worst in people, right? And like even the people who are the good guys can do bad things.
Yeah.
And like you said, that guy Jet, he was willing to sacrifice a whole Earth Kingdom town, women, children, families, just to kill some Fire Nation soldiers.
Yeah. And like going back to like that old guy is like, he really was just like this old innocent dude walking in the forest, and he's the one that stood up when Sokka was trying to warn the town. Nobody believed him until this guy was like, hey, this guy made sure that these people didn't kill me. Like, yeah, they roughed me up, and yeah, he went away with them, but like, this guy is trustworthy. We need to we need to follow him. He wouldn't hurt people. So like, I feel like that's really how like kindness comes in, and like
fighting an enemy fighting or being against someone that you think is wrong isn't the same, does not equate to being righteous. Because at the end of the day, yes, the Avatar is going to be fighting the Fire Nation, but he still has a moral code. He still is it's not like he's not on a war path. He's actually trying to make the world better. Whereas Jet is obviously a very hurt young man, probably the age of 16, who was hurt by a group, and all he wants to do, the only thing that's consuming him is to hurt people back, not to make the world a better place.
He's out for revenge. He's not out to save any. It's a pure revenge that fuels him.
He like spins it so that he's the good guy, but all he wants to do is hurt people that he thinks hurt him. Like, obviously these Fire Nation people probably weren't the ones who killed his parents, but he's like, oh no, you represent everything I hate, I need to murder you. And like, he spins it in a very like fairy tale-esque way, where it's like, I'm right, these guys are evil, these guys are bad, they're the bad guys, they're evil, they're evil, they're evil. And then, like, his followers, who are just young kids, like, who are they gonna follow? Right? Like, he's feeding them. He's feeding them, he's clothing them, he's housing them, he's their leader. So why would they think anything else?
Well, and it's even mentioned a couple times by Pipsqueak and
Smellerbee.
Yeah, it's like, you know, they
trust Jet.
They trust Jet, and while they're like walking Sokka away or whatever, they're basically spouting off how awesome Jet is, right? So I think this episode actually is
super dark. Actually,
it's pretty dark, and it's actually like I feel like it's almost a warning against charismatic leaders. You know what I mean? Like, as a child, like watching this, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't take that away as a child, but like maybe subconsciously. But I think it warns of the dangers of charismatic leaders.
I agree.
So, I think that a cool thing is like, there's this point where I think there's like a seed of doubt that starts to grow in Aang's mind. Maybe not Katara's, but Aang's. When Jet says that Sokka apologized, Aang is like, what? Sokka apologized? And Katara doesn't see anything wrong with it, which I feel like she's very much walking under her own like fog cloud, right? Like, she doesn't want to see the things that she doesn't want to see. But Aang is like, he has no horse in this race, right? So he's like, Sokka apologized, and then they do this stuff. And so I feel like when Jet kind of showed his evil side, Aang wasn't as surprised as Sokka, because there was already that seed of doubt.
I can see that. I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. Tierra, you know, you've known me for quite a while. I absolutely have very, very distinct hatred for manipulative people. What in terms of devil's advocate, I respect charm, which I think Jet has in Flush, but I do want to still point out like the evils of gaslighting and manipulation. That's just, and also using child soldiers. Okay, to be fair, Aang's like 12 years old, but like
most of the people who are going to take down the Fire Nation are children.
Let's be real.
Children are the future. Let's go. The old people didn't even want to do it.
No, it wasn't like, it was like the really old people, the White Lotus old people. And then children.
What I do want to say though, I don't know, like, I guess a place where I'm coming from, it takes a lot to come to terms and realize that, like, when you have been manipulated, and like having to that realization of like you've been had kind of thing, and kind to recognize that like every what am I trying to say? Anyways, so it takes a lot to kind of come out of someone's spell, I guess, when you are
No,
charmed.
it's
If we're going to,
Yeah.
if we're going to D&D terms, so it takes a lot for you to make sense of the reality of the situation. And what I found so satisfying is that as heartbroken as Katara was, she was still able to recognize the truth, recognize that she was betrayed. She didn't even try to justify Jet anymore when she realized the reality, which is really good. But what am I trying to say? I think, having compassion on Jet, who lost. I'm playing devil's advocate by having compassion on a 16-year-old who lost his parents at 8 years old. So was all by himself in the world for 8 more years, assumably, and was able to build a mini empire to not only get revenge, which is what's at the core of his heart, which is very unfortunate, but also to protect those who have gone through the exact same pain that he has went through. A band full of orphan children that he turned into people who are competent and strong in their own right, who are able to stand up to the oppressive forces in the world. What he does in manipulation is 100% wrong. People are not pawns or toys that are yours to play with.
I feel like providing a home was like a really good thing that he did.
Yeah.
And like even though it was like born out of revenge, it was still a good thing.
I
And,
do
like,
think he genuinely still cared about all the people that he cared in his tribe. But the thing was he was at such a distinct, like, hurt was such a distinct part of his identity that everything outside of the circle that he wanted to protect had to be the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think that was super unfortunate. And I'm not saying what he did was wrong at all, but I'm saying what he did makes sense in his mind. I don't think hurt at the end of the day, hurt people. I think that's the core of who Jet is. And what I'm so curious about, because we do see him in book 2, a lot of fun there, a lot of conflicting emotions there too. More Katara pinning Jet against the wall and stuff. Okay, that sounded kind of weird, but what was interesting is I wonder what it means for all these the band of children. For Jet to be in Bossing, say, I wonder what happened to those kids.
Oh, don't we know? Doesn't he say that like the
I know they disbanded,
troop
but
of children got disbanded?
Yeah, but I like who they're still like, youngins. I'm really wondering how they're getting along.
I don't know. So like in my mind, by that time the Earth Nation had started fighting back.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the Earth Nation took over that territory and then like started an orphanage or put the kids into places that they were loved. That's what I would like to believe.
I would love that.
That is what I would like to believe.
Cody's face.
Don't ruin this.
Cody's face is so good.
Sure.
They find a lost tribe of air bison and they fly off into the sunset.
Yeah. No, but I think that's a really good point, though, is that like it just again kind of shows the mastery of this show. It's
the layers.
Like the layers.
Yeah.
It's right. It's like nothing is black and white. Actually,
No,
there's no right and wrong. There's no good versus evil. There's various shades of gray, and there's good and evil on all sides. Mm-hmm. And yes, people who do good, like save children,
can also be really evil.
Can also do evil things.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say that they can be evil.
That's fair.
They can do evil.
Yeah,
you know?
that's fair.
Just like you can do good, but maybe not be good. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like from one misguided attempt, or maybe even a few misguided years or whatever. I hesitate to label somebody as evil for that.
No, that's fair. I think that is true, and like I think that language is a good thing to like be aware of, that like especially in this show we're shown that like very few people are actually like bad in their core. It's just that they do bad things and then they do good things, and they're neither bad or good, they're just people. But there are some really, really bad people.
Yeah, what he did was still super shitty.
Yeah, no. Like, and I like to the core, like his character hurts my soul.
Yeah. What I love about because first glance, it's like subvert expectations. The super charming Robin Hood leader is actually bad guy. Second watch, subvert expectations again. The greaseball Robin Hood leader is actually just a traumatized child who needed direction and doesn't know what to do with his herd. So it's like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, the layers in this show are amazing, as always.
Yeah. At the same time, what the gang did though was still right. It's not their job to fix Jet's morality or how he sees things. They prevented him from doing something terrible. But it's an atrocity, but it wasn't their job to really. Actually, I don't know what does happen to Jet in this episode.
I feel like his crew was like, In my mind, I think his crew was like, this is bad. Yeah. We shouldn't be killing civilians.
I don't think so. I think that his crew would still stick it out with them.
Well, we see them later, but not all of them. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's why they disbanded. It's because some people were like, this is bad. And other people are like, we're sticking with Jet.
Because, I mean, you see, like the guy who's shooting the bow and arrow long shot, he knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like he has any
illusion
to what he's doing. He's literally blowing up bombs to burst a dam that's going to destroy
and we
it.
see him later. Like, he's one of the people that's stuck by Jet.
Yeah.
Book 2, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, it's very interesting to see how it all pans out and stuff. And it's like, I'm sure that, some people are like, okay, like, maybe you aren't the one that we should be following. But I do like that's where I was going with this. I was like, I know if I keep talking long enough,
something will click.
Mood.
Fuck, now it's gone.
Oh my God, no!
Oh, yeah, no, it's back again. I like what you said about how Aang and the gang, they don't try to like fix Jet, right? They just stop him from doing the evil and then they leave him, and it's not their job to fix him. They intervene with the evil action, and they don't try to like save him or right him or anything. They are just like, this is wrong. Okay, bye.
Yeah. They're like, we have no part of this.
Yeah.
We saved these people and now we're peacing out because we don't want to be part of this anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I think that is I think that that's something we don't see in very many shows or movies or anything. It's like a lot of times we see people interact with other toxic people and then they get caught, they get stuck trying to fix them, and then that's what the whole movie and that's what the whole show is about, is them trying to fix this other person. And I think that it's a really important narrative, especially for children, is like you need to let go of the toxic people in your life. Like, yes, they might have had a big impact on you, they might have done positive things in your life, but if they're toxic and you know they're toxic, you need to let them go.
Yeah.
Don't
and
try
you need
to
move
people.
on.
Yeah, don't try to fix people. Just let them know that you are not comfortable with what they are doing.
Yeah.
In this case,
killing people.
Hundreds of people.
Kicking old men in the face.
Yeah, kicking old men in the face, very evil things. But yeah, it's a very good lesson. You let people know that, hey, I'm not comfortable with this and I'm going to distance myself from you.
Yeah. I'm no longer part of your world. Please just leave me alone.
Yeah. Maybe if you change, look me up type deal.
Yeah, but probably not.
I love how declarative Katara was with, like, not only, I guess, the boundary of like of how clear it was they didn't want Jet in their lives, but like she was able to name exactly, like, this is how you hurt me. There's no denying that you're sick and you lied to us, kind of thing. And I think, I don't know, as much as emotional as like, I don't know, kind of like dizzying as heavy as intense emotions can be, I love the emotional literacy she was still able to demonstrate in that moment.
Something I liked a lot is like, maybe they show it later, I don't know, but like the fact that Katara and Aang were very much manipulated by this person into doing something that they thought was innocent. They were just putting water into a river. That's all they were told.
To prevent fires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were doing a very innocent act. And I know personally as an adult, doing something like that and then having it used for bad would haunt me. It'd be like, my actions led to a town being destroyed. But I love how they don't take it like that. They took it like, I was manipulated, I did this action, but it's not on me, it's on you. And I like that they took that stance instead of being guilty about actions that they were manipulated into thinking was innocent. Because that's a very dangerous kind of territory, I think, with very manipulative people, is like, they can make you think you're doing something very innocent that have bad repercussions that you can take to heart, being like, I'm guilty of this, but it's not you, it's them. It's their fault. And I think that's kind of a cool take on that episode.
Right.
I also just like seeing like the competency of Sokka, not only with like his mind again and like trusting in his gut and stuff, but also like his combat skills.
Yes.
Like right off the bat, like that when they find all the trapped animals and stuff, and they free Momo, and he's just like, well, let's do this faster. And he uses his boomerang and he cuts it down. And even when they're like the vibrations with the knife,
I
like,
love recon abilities.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was like, oh yeah, someone's coming.
Yeah, he's like, just like, what are you doing? And he sticks his knife in the tree. He's like, I can hear the vibrations or whatever. He's like, only one person's coming. It's the old guy. And then he stops Jet from kicking that dude in the face with his fucking little hammer sword thing or whatever the hell that is.
We get a little taste of his stealth abilities too when he realizes that Jet and his crew are sneaking out to plant the explosive jelly.
Yeah.
It was great.
And also when he escapes from the two people, like he sees
like,
the traps
work
on, the
on
ground.
your not skills.
His ability to improvise and also to leverage the new information. Yeah, like then and there is like. I also want to draw that parallel with Jet. I do feel like they're foils for each other very much, with very drastically different, I guess, moral boundaries. Definitely, I feel like at the end of the day, they do want to fight the fight. They have faced loss in very similar ways, but in terms of support system and how they developed as people is just drastically different. But we see resourcefulness. Jet has more of the charm. not gonna lie. But in terms of the ability to assess a combat situation and to leverage it in the most strategic way, I feel like they're very much parallels with each other. It's super cool.
It's actually interesting because at the very beginning of the episode, they're talking about leadership, right?
Yeah.
Who's the leader of this group? And Sokka's like,
I'm the leader.
And Katara's like, Aang's the leader. And then Aang's like, I shouldn't be the leader. Which is a hilarious moment. Yeah. But it's actually very interesting that they talk about that at the beginning of the episode. And just based off what you said, it's like the two leaders of the separate things and the two, like the juxtaposition between the two of them. It's like, one has given in to that revenge narrative and like fully embodies that revenge narrative, where Sokka, like you said, kind of has that support system with his dad is still alive even though he's not around. He still has his sister, he has his grand and stuff. He has that family that kind of points his moral compass towards in the right direction and towards love, and like gives him, you know, the compassion that you would need to be like, okay, like, yes, there are Fire Nation soldiers there, but there's also innocent civilians there.
Or
an
even,
identity more than just hurt.
Exactly. Or even to like look at an old man and look past his clothes.
Yes.
Like, this is a Fire Nation. Yes, he's very clearly Fire Nation, but he's still an old man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys give me shivers.
So it's like, it's just really cool in the episode that they take the two leaders of these two separate things and they basically compare them straight up.
Yeah.
Which is
and
like,
Sokka wins.
Yeah, Sokka wins every time.
I gotta say, like Sokka's last words to Jet was actually so powerful. There was
That was
okay. Angry yip.
I'm sorry. I know too. I'm sorry.
No, factually, that is very correct.
It's the only time we hear an angry yip yip. I think. But anyways.
Yip.
Please continue.
I remember seeing an image of 4 panels of that quote of interaction between Sokka and Jet, and it actually, I don't know on Facebook right now, but it was my cover photo in the back of my profile. It was like Jet says, Sokka, you're a traitor. And Sokka says, no, Jet, you're the traitor. You became the traitor when you stopped protecting innocent people. And I don't know, that has like such deep resonance with just, yeah, because it's so, Jet's a man on a mission where the only thing is the mission, but it loses complete sight of like the bigger picture of what actually makes the world better.
Yeah, it's kind of like two wrongs don't make a right. You know what I mean? Like that cliches are cliche for a reason, but what Sokka I feel like is kind of saying there is like, don't give in to evil. Like just because you were hurt in that way, if you hurt people in that way, you're no better than they are. Right? It's like, I think that's kind of like, that is very powerful, and that's like what I got out of him saying that as well. It's quite the scene for sure.
Yeah, no, it was very powerful. I really like we already kind of talked about, but like I really like the fact that they're like, you suck, fuck you, peace out. And then they just leave, and like I think that that's, again, like just so powerful. It's just like, it's telling children, if you're in a bad situation, you can leave.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to stay in bad situations. You have the power, you just leave.
What do we say when we have a toxic person in our life? Yip yip.
But in the most
yip. In the most angry way you could possibly.
Yeah.
It's like trying to say bubbles angry. Like, have you ever tried to say the word bubble angry?
Bubbles.
Yeah, right. It's hard. It's hard to do.
Oh, that's so funny. I do want to. Okay, now that I've made it clear that I don't agree with Jet on any moral stance at all, I do want to kind of hype up his tactical prowess.
Yes.
I'm a fan. I'm not gonna lie. His ability as a hook sword, super cool. But his tactical prowess, the fact that he had so many moving variables and was able to concoct plans just like that. Well, I don't know if it was true because he was still being smooth talker mode. But the fact that he was able to leverage a random variable of 3 kids and a flying bison walking in on his mark, on his target, able to leverage that to complete the assault. Super a demonstration of his ability to think on his feet. And the fact that when they finally found the loot that was left behind from the Fire Nation encampment, he was able to, all these new variables came into play. He found 2 benders who were able to move water, fill up a dam. He was able to. Oh wait, let me just break it down even more. He found 2 water benders, 2 people who could manipulate water. He found explosion jelly and those were just like such offhanded like comments. It was like, oh yeah, by the way, we found these things. So like, yeah, okay, cool. But the fact that he put 2 and 2 together, like these 2 variables, and then associate it with another bigger target, like the fact that he was making plans on plans as they were happening. I respect that level of genius. I just wish you weren't evil, dude. I wish you didn't try to I just wish you weren't so hurt that you couldn't see the bigger picture to actually fight for what was right.
Even his combat abilities, like when
his hook swords are insane.
But even just when he's fighting Aang, like I'm like, Aang isn't, like he says right off the bat, he's like, I don't want to fight you,
I'm not
right?
fighting.
So he's trying to avoid him.
Don't. Let me get up this tree.
But like even the fact that he is able to fight the Avatar, even though he's not like, he's early Avatar mode, but that he's able to take on a bender who knows both airbending and waterbending at this point, and be able to basically beat him. It shows like the competency of his ability. But like one thing I really did want to say about that fight in particular is I really just want to give props to like the creators of the show again, is because those hook swords are things that were actually used by Shaolin monks, right? So it like kind of takes it back to that like Asian theme and that influence, and like the way that he was using them was very reminiscent of the ways that they would use them, hook them together and swing them out like
that's
that.
one thing I did
like,
want to say is like when he hooked them together, every time he does that, I I get chills. I'm just like, yes! You just made a bigger sword out of a tiny sword!
Stop being cool! Stop being cool!
Yeah, exactly.
And that's shit that they would do too, and the way he catches the blades with them and stuff. It's just like it just shows the level of research and like detail, the attention to detail that is in this show from the creators.
Yeah.
Something, since we're going back to like the camera work, or just other details, I love what they were doing with. I feel like it was very distinct for this episode. The amount of times they utilize face shots in particular.
Yeah.
We see it with the close-ups for Katara when she's in love. Jet's speech, it gets darker and red tint to it, and also when he was fighting Aang, like there's like these weird like side blurs on the rim of the screen that just kind of like depicted like being in the middle of a wind gust, I guess, but.
Yeah,
it really accentuated the intensity of the moment.
The edges got blurred when Aang kept hitting him with air. The edges of the screen blurred. Yeah, it was cool.
Super cool. So much detail there. Yeah. So I think at the core, Jet is a survivor, and then the fact that he was able to accumulate that much power and influence kind of tipped him over, because it wasn't even like he was more than surviving at this point. It became a point of like, now that I'm someone who has power, my examples of power are people who hurt me, so I'm going to emulate that, because that's all I know what power does: hurt more people.
Yeah.
No,
I definitely agree. And like that is something that's like really powerful, is like that his examples of people in power were doing bad things. And like that's the only examples he ever really had, right? Like his parents were killed when he's so young, and that's normally who children think are people of power, right? You think your parents, when you think, oh, this person is very powerful, you think, oh, my parents, but like his parents were killed. So
there's a quote here that I'm going to read, and it's going to like explain the character of Jet profusely.
Yep. Sorry.
Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Fear is the path to the dark side.
Yeah,
oh my god, lightsaber hook swords!
Oh, what? That would be insane!
Master Yoda gets Jet.
Jet and Anakin. Basically the same people.
Oh man. I just want like an orphanage just run by Iroh and Yoda. There we go.
Yeah. They're basically the same people. Do you guys have any final thoughts for this one?
I think that this is like very scarring to Katara for her first time being in love to get so betrayed, and I think that carries through into her romantic relationships in like moving on.
I could definitely see that. Friends from all nations, be charming, but don't be manipulative, please. And another thing, I think, circling back to the characters that were actually influenced of. Like, I feel like this was very much a sweet summer child moment for Katara and Aang. And I really like to think this was a good starting point in terms of, like, recontextualizing, like, who is trustworthy without... They'd never become, like, so closed off to all new people. But I think it's
become smarter about it.
Yeah, it's very much... It's an awakening. It's a realization. Like, there are people in the world that have a very present a very charming front, but could be very, very dangerous.
Because Katara gives up the fact that Aang's the Avatar right away.
Yeah.
No hesitation.
It's the Avatar.
I mean, my only final thought is that I think Jet is actually just evil Sokka.
Yes!
Sokka without the ponytail. Yeah. Like, if you put Jet in a ponytail, it's like, we won't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. It's like, which one's Sokka?
Wait, hold on.
Just look for the evil actions.
What?
Yeah, so that's my final thought.
Love it. Okay, stay hot people.
Oh, whoa,
Yep.
You gotta...
Oh, sorry.
Whoa. I'm Tierra Penner, and I'm signing off.
Anyways, I'm Cody Smith.
I'm Timothy Ocampo. Thank you for watching, guys.
Listening.
Oh, please edit that out, please. No, oh my goodness, please. Thanks for watching Avatar: The Last Airbender and listening to The Last Podbender.
Saved it.
Stay hot people.
If you liked this episode of the podcast, why not leave a review? Whether you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, whatever podcatcher you may be listening on, ratings and reviews are huge. They help us to break through those evil algorithms, and it will help us to reach the most amount of glorious Avatar fans that we can possibly reach. If you would like up-to-date information regarding this podcast, follow us on Instagram. You can find us at the.last.podbender on Instagram. If you would like more information about all of the shows that Froggy Style Productions produces, including this one, follow them on social media, and you can find them at Froggy Style Productions on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For more ways in which you can support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.